to press through all of the information on the hoarding and how it coexists with ADD and ADHD. The reason I'm giving so much time to this is that easily, I would say 25% of the people who come to me for help or who I consult with, even if I don't actually get to meet them, easily that many are somewhere on the continuum of ADD and ADHD, all right? And it becomes a more complicating factor for the making the progress that you want and quite often need to make. So that's why I'm devoting this much time to it. I want to get on to those life examples that people are sending me about. This is my history. This is what I'm living with concerning other comorbidities, other issues in my life, other setbacks in my life. These are the beliefs, these are the ideas, the automatic thoughts, the limiting beliefs that are coming to me when I'm trying to make a difference in the state of my environment. I want to get to those, and I want us to make this real, because I know that every single one of those situations is going to in some way play out for most of the people who devote this hour every week, all right? And we can mix it up with other comorbidities as well. So we're going to talk, because I believe before you start considering that you're the problem, we need to look at how well you're taking care of the basics. All right, so here are some ADD and ADHD life basics. They're basics in most situations where you find yourself taxed beyond your ability to cope the way you want to cope. Okay, make sure that you're getting enough sleep and that you are eating properly. All right. If you are not doing both of those things, then you're setting yourself up for not having the fuel and not having the mental space. Enough sleep is the time when our body heals. Our physical body heals. It is also the time when our mind has more influence to set the pieces in place, send us the thoughts, and try to resolve those things, those issues, those circumstances that we're living with, our worries, our troubles, our challenges, to help us figure out what the best path is, and options that when we're overwhelmed, we can't probably come up with on our own. When we sleep and we get the quality of sleep where we have REM sleep, that's the function of sleep, all right? And if you shortchange yourself by staying up all night, and some people are morning people and some people are night people, you need to work out what that balance is for you. But if you're cheating yourself on your sleep, you're cheating yourself on the most powerful resource you have to resolve the things that are confounding you when you're awake and conscious. The other thing we all need to do, all right, is have a self-care stress management outlet, particularly during these COVID times. This has just ramped existing stress by, yes, it may make it easier if you're working from home, but we are social beings, and you are then paying a price for isolation, all right? And there are very, very few people who don't find that they're paying that price. And it's prompting people to take chances that they wouldn't normally take because they're bored. they're at their limit of not being able to just go out and go to the store. And now even to take a walk, you need to be wearing a mask for your protection and everybody else's. And it's an extra challenge. So respect it. What will your outlet be? All right. Remember too, to self-acceptance, that you are a flawed, imperfect human being, just the way you're supposed to be. All right. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of respect from others or worthy of respect that you give yourself. All right. So talk therapy too may not be alone, may not be as helpful in ADD and ADHD situations as talk plus a behavioral piece, all right, that modifies your awareness of options that you have, helps you think outside the box when you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed. One of the things it does for individuals living anywhere on the continuum of ADD and ADHD is it increases your ability to use your mind's eye so that you can see the progression of actions before they happen. And it also gives you one more sense to use to check, is that really in this context? It's not always. There's nothing that all or nothing, all right, that always is the right answer. In this context, does this look, can I foresee, can I imagine through my mind's eye that this will get me where I want to be? And if you're going to put the effort into it, for heaven's sakes, get out of it what you need, enough of what you need. And you can also, in your mind's eye, picture, I could see that right now, that could take a 90-degree turn someplace that I don't want to go. What is a better, safer option for the energy that I'm going to put into this? And so maybe it will make you choose to do a tiny bit, not nothing, but a tiny bit less, or to do it differently and break it up into chunks and test, okay, did that get me where I needed to be? And we're talking about things like the 15 minutes a day, all right? That's the way to break it down. The other thing, though, that is really, really important is that we don't waste our mental, physical, or emotional energy by not taking responsibility for our own needs. When something happens, your first question needs to be, what is this situation? What do I need right now in this context? And will meeting that need, going to the dollar store, perhaps having a drink, hopefully there's no one here that is stuck in drug use. If there is, please contact me and I will try my level best to find you the results, because you deserve not to stay stuck. All right, and some things can be chemically overwhelming and you can't break that cycle yourself. So if you're in a dangerous situation, I want to hear from you, okay? I don't have the answer to everything, but I'll do my best. So managing your needs, what do I need right now? And will what I'm telling myself I need, where's that going to lead? A short-term gain or a longer-term gain? There are only so many short-term gains that you can give your best energy to. Get help when you're distressed, okay? Particularly if the distress continues. And I'm not talking about any old help. Get the help you need. It's out there. Know that if you're dealing with therapists, all right, there doesn't have to be anything wrong with you or anything wrong with them. It's very important to approach a therapist like buying shoes. Not every one of them is a good fit between the two of you. It's not always a good fit. But when you find a good fit, all right, remember the times you least want to go are almost certainly the times you most need to go, even though it may only be virtually, all right? It's better than the alternative. You are worth the success you want. Everyone in this world has a challenge. Yours is ADD or ADHD, and there's lots of good information. Okay, I have a whole shelf on my my bookcase, one of my bookcases downstairs, on childhood, adolescent, adult ADD and HD. There's lots of expertise out there. If you're living with it, invest in the best information you can. So when the side effects of ADD or ADHD overwhelm you, they can feel really oppressive and really chaotic. The following section that we're going to talk about now, these are approaches, all right? These are approaches that start here to the tasks at hand. First of all, break what you're doing down into smaller chunks. If you can't even mentally consider the whole job, it's too overwhelming, or you can't figure out where to start or what to do next, break it down into smaller chunks and keep breaking it down until you can do one at a time, if that's what it takes. Give yourself the time, all right? Don't go at it like a fiend saying, okay, today we're cleaning up the whole downstairs, or we're going to clean up that whole table. Depending on how diverse the items are on that table, that might be a more demanding job than you've estimated. Give yourself the time it takes. And if you have to do it in 15-minute chunks, once you've done that 15 minutes a day using a timer, all right, we're not talking 20 minutes. We're talking you commit to yourself, I'm doing 15 minutes and not 1 second longer, because that's going to help you learn to start self-regulating. Also, give yourself time limits, all right? And when you're estimating time, you say, okay, I'm going to do this in 15 minutes. I want you to take your right hand and I want you to move it back by half, right? Because chances are, if you're like most of us, you've overestimated the overlay of your wish, your desire, prompts your limit hand. Your right is your limit hand, your left is your start hand. It kind of prompts it to overestimate. And then if you don't adjust that, you're better to exceed what you set than not to meet it, because all you're going to do is feel badly about yourself. Give yourself expectations that are reasonable. Basically, that's what I'm talking about. If it's still too heavy for you, if you still can't manage it, keep breaking it down until you can manage it. All right, the other thing about ADD and ADHD is, under appropriate, strict medical supervision, there are medications that can help you. They are not the answer. You are the answer, but they are aids. They will help you level the playing field so that the chemistry of your brain isn't acting against you if it continually confounds you, all right? All right, also consider beginning an exercise and physical activity regime. You don't have to be, what do they call them? Iron Man or Iron Woman, all right? We're not talking about overdoing it. We're talking about something that burns off that energy that keeps you out of the zone or doesn't get you into the zone. The zone is the whole thing about ADD and ADHD, all right? And Harvard repeatedly offers a course teaching those therapists that you're coming to for help about the beneficial, the therapeutic effects of physical activity. Get that mask on and get out there for a walk if it's possible. And today, maybe you're walking at a really slow pace. So what? You're out there. It's more than you were doing before. Be proud of yourself. Okay? Don't judge yourself inadequate. And tomorrow, maybe you walk a little faster. Or maybe it's going to take you a week. Maybe you go half a block further, all right? Whatever it is, set the challenge reasonably and then do your best to persist at it. Remember also that when it's severe enough, ADD and ADHD can qualify as a disability. So where necessary, make yourself aware and request adaptations in your workforce or other places where your human rights can be honored and can be respected. When it's a disability, it becomes a human rights, falls under human rights legislation. So that can be with a landlord, all right? If the landlord comes in or the fire department comes in, if it's severe enough, if your functional disability is severe enough because of ADD and ADHD, call one of, and you're not getting that kind of flexibility in the response from a landlord or fire department or something else, call one of your local community legal clinics and they will support you. Work with whoever the enforcement agent is, all right? Because you do have rights under human rights legislation for, not to hoard and make everybody unsafe, but for reasonable accommodation, okay? The other thing too, I mentioned last week, I believe it was, for the first time, I'm going to be running groups. Now, they won't be free. There will be a cost. I'm trying to figure out how much time would be involved so that I can price them properly. My goal is that 8 sessions cost you less than 2 sessions, one-on-one with me, because there's a lot of background time for preparation and for resource development and that kind of thing. It's not just me talking. We're going to have a group of no more than 10 to 12 people, and it's a closed group, and we're going to work drill down on all of the things we've covered kind of superficially in these podcasts. All right, so in that group, I'm hoping that each of you will find a colleague that is a cheering section. And the cheering section will be those people who don't judge you and who can offer you encouragement to keep going, encouragement to set healthy boundaries and maintain them, boundaries and limits, help setting the expectations for yourself, and when you're in the wrong, okay, will help you teach yourself how to respect yourself so you don't diminish yourself, but also will help you how to communicate to others that even though you are a flawed, imperfect human being, they can't treat you with a lack of respect, with disrespect or judgment. All right, now we're going to talk about ADD and ADHD task management and tool strategies. I have 35 tools and strategies I want to cover with you. So get your pen and papers out and let's make cheat sheet notes for yourself, okay? The first is With an individual who's living with ADD and or ADHD, timers are essential. Because you know that section in procrastination that we did where we talked about a problem estimating time or relationship with time? That is epidemic with individuals who are on the continuum to any extent of ADD and ADHD, all right? Trick is to know your disorder or to know your challenges. You don't even have to tick enough boxes that you actually qualify as a disorder. If you're living with somewhere on that continuum, all right, you probably have a questionable, under the right circumstances, questionable relationship with estimating accurate time. Timers are a real benefit. We now don't have to go out and buy a timer. We can use our smartphones. We can use a lot of technology that we have. All right, tell yourself what you're going to do and set a timer. The other thing that protects you against is something we've talked about before as well, and that is you're on a roll, okay? You're in the zone. Oh, you know, this is going really well. I feel really good about this. And the timer goes off. You think, oh no, I'm going to ignore that timer and I'm going to keep going until I'm tired out. That is exactly the wrong thing to do when you're getting started. Because how many times have I said it? Here I go again. You won't go back to it. You won't go back to it often enough to achieve what you're trying to achieve. When that timer rings, stop. If later on in the day you have more steam in the tank and you just are dying to do a little bit more, set another 15 minutes. The thing I want you to learn is that you make a plan for yourself and you respect it. When you say you're going to do something, anything, all right, that's exactly what you do. And you're not obliged to do one more thing, because when you're getting started, if you don't develop that self-management, all right, self-management and self-regulation are key to success. It's one of the most important things for us to learn developmentally as children, and many of us didn't learn it. So I want you to start now. It's never too late. When you say you're going to do something for someone else or for yourself as much, I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, I can do it for other people, but I can't do it for myself. That means you're not respecting and valuing yourself. Okay? You are worth no more than anybody else, but you are worth, no matter how flawed you are equal to everybody else. Show it in that timer, the use of the timer. When you say you're going to do something, do it. Electronic timers are also useful. Written reminders posted. Now, I'm not talking all over the place, all right? They're not supposed to be wallpaper. Pick a place that is a visual, an area that visually you go by many times a day, all right, and post your reminders there, all right? Externalizing something when you have ADD and ADHD, a checklist, reminders, post-it notes, whatever, and visual is extremely important. If you do nothing else in the next week, do that, all right? Okay. The other thing I want you to do, even if you have to go to the library to do it, all right? Even if you can't afford a book that's really good, Barkley is a great, I'll just give you some titles, okay? Taking Charge of Your Adult ADHD, Russell A. Barkley. He's a PhD. I've got a number of others here as well that are superb, all right? The information they're going to give you is superb. Learn the facts about your ADD and ADHD. Know yourself. How can you be your best supporter of yourself if you don't understand who you are as an individual, the good and the challenging. All right? Take personal responsibility, not just for your needs. Take personal responsibility for your outcomes without self-blame, without self-shame. Take personal responsibility by being a compassionate, loving, but strict, truthful, outside observer of yourself. All right? Put away the hockey sticks. You don't have to stick handle excuses. It is what it is. Accept it and deal with what is. Get tips and tools to help you anticipate that maintaining the environment may feel overwhelming at times. It is definitely going to feel unmotivating. Just take that one to the bank. There are going to be so many times when you just don't want to do it. And you also sometimes aren't going to feel that you can do it. I'm here to tell you, okay, I'm on your side. I would never judge you. I would never disrespect you. But I'm here to tell you that unless there is gushing blood or projectile vomiting, all right, on your worst day, each one of us can do 15 minutes, all right? So sometimes the after effects of ADD and ADHD can make life feel really chaotic. Ask yourself, what is the biggest frustration right now that I can manage? And start working on that. Break it down. Maybe it's something like finances, all right? So with finances, there are two ways to go about it. First of all, what I would suggest is that you use automatic payments. Go into your online banking and put your credit card or your bank, your other store cards, if you're still using those, although the interest rate at that on those is probably horribly higher than an interest rate you could get on a line of credit or on a credit card, all right? So don't be held ransom by inconsistent payments. Build your reputation, build your credit score, all right? Go in and set up an automatic payment that is slightly more than the minimum payment, if that's the best you can manage, that is timed for however you are paid and respects your budget. That should be possible, all right? The other thing that I ask you to do, if you are absolutely unable to manage that, you're not electronically savvy, you can get someone who you know and respect and trust to help you set that up, or for a time until you learn those skills. And if I can do it, there's a reason I went into social work, folks. I am not technically brilliant, all right? So if I can do it, I'm sure that given the right coaching, you can do it, all right? Have faith in yourself. But in that interim, is there someone you know and trust who you could delegate the management of your bill payment? All right. The other thing I think you should do is, if you have a credit card, every month, every single month when you get that statement, you make a date with yourself to sit down and go through what the charges, the new charges were on that statement. It's a way to make yourself accountable to yourself and your plan, the intent you had. And it will be a tiny way to inoculate yourself against impulsive buying, all right? Because that's the other thing about adult ADD and ADHD brains. Adolescent children won't be in this situation with finances, hopefully. things look like a good idea in the moment, and then act in haste, repent at leisure, okay, is the expression for that. Okay, when you're estimating what your monthly payment will be on a credit card, a store card, or something else, okay, maybe it would be your hydro bill or your not your rent, but any other utilities, okay? Overestimate by just a little so that you know you've always got that required payment covered. Just a little, all right? And you can do that by going back over those statements that you've held on to or your bank records. If they're online, you can go to your online bank statements and check, what did I pay hydro over the last year? Estimate that, add a tiny bit, all right, and put it in as a regular payment. That way you don't have to remember it. That way you are not going to damage your credit rating, which you may need, okay, in challenging times, because you keep forgetting late payment. And you won't have to pay as many, waste your disposable income. Do any of us have enough with late payment charges? All right. With mail, paper's tough, folks. Everybody finds paper. Do you just track how much unsolicited paper comes into your environment every week? Right? Is it any wonder we're drowning in paper and we find it lying around all over the place? All right. Have 2 baskets close to the entrance, wherever you're bringing the mail in, whatever entrance that is, 2 baskets. All right. One for general mail and the second for bills. And guess which basket gets addressed first? Now, there's a strategy that I suggest to my clients who find bill payment difficult or the mail stacks up. And that is either, if you haven't done that automatic payment of bills, like I just talked about, then you can make a date with yourself, all right, in your calendar, just like you were going to the dentist or the doctor. You actually section it off in your agenda, get an agenda, or get a calendar online, Google Calendar, all right? And if you get paid every 2 weeks, then every 2 weeks for no more than an hour, you make a date where you pay your bills regularly according to whatever the schedule is, once a month, once every 2 weeks, once a week, whatever your income scheduling is, all right? The other way to do it is to do that, but do it once a month. Look at what the due dates are. It's a little harder to do, though. You have to look at what the due dates are and then deduct that money from no matter what your bank account says. Okay, that is not the truth. If you've got bills and payments coming in, deduct that, mathematically deduct it. And what's left? That is your disposable income. And when something looks like a good idea online, because heaven knows most of the advertising now is online, all right, and it looks like a good idea as it comes across your phone or your computer, that's the figure right here that you have in your mind. Yeah, I better not do that because I have $15 left this month, or whatever it is. Is that the best use of the disposable income? For most of it, it will be a way to help you put the brakes on. And you may go ahead and make the purchase or make that choice. You may, but at least you'll be doing it consciously or more consciously, okay? Okay. Delegate, okay. External aids, use external aids for cueing you. With adult ADD and ADHD, you know that sense, that hyperactivity that you may have had as a child, that inattention that you may have had as a child with ADD or adolescence. In adolescence and in adulthood, it usually, and not always, but it usually transitions into that sense of inattention through restlessness more than the actual hyperactivity behavior. But how hyperactivity can play out in adult ADD is that constant need to be busy. You know, just not, you're not able to just sort of, here's a good test. Here's a good test. All right. If you, I believe that Monique Rhodes, you don't have to join. I believe that you can have a free test period on Monique Rhodes' 10-minute mind, the meditation, and it's a very unconventional type of meditation. All right. It isn't sort of the, okay. If you can't do that, 10 minutes, quiet your brain by enough to complete the 10 minutes. If you're a little squirrely, okay, a little agitated, a little restless, before that 10 minutes is up, either you do have some level of ADD or ADHD, or the context of your life right now is producing enough agitation that you really could use that, okay? So it's a way to assess yourself. So use external aids for cueing yourself, because that agitation, that's going to distract away. It's like bees in your head, a bag of bees in your head. All right, and keep those aids at hand, okay, working and available no matter what it is. Use meaningful key words. You can't take copious notes. Use meaningful key words and make your list, all right, within your sight range to prompt your memory, all right? There are great electronic apps. I use apps, BFs, timers, on my smartphone. And remember, I am not the most proficient person. Believe I'm not just saying that. Anybody who works with me will tell you that. That's not my strong suit, all right? But if I can do it, you can do it. And the other thing too, you know that really annoying habit that you need for passwords? That has become the bane of my existence. And so somebody who knows a lot more about how to maintain passwords taught me, and I pass this on, because a lot of electronic aids that you're going to use are going to need passwords, like the password to get into your phone. There's an app called LastPass. All right, here it is right here, LastPass. All right, and it is wonderful. It has it'll list a whole section of different categories. So it could be banking, personal, social media, could be anything, all right? Your email, your banking online, and they're easy to access, right at hand, all right? Okay. Another thing, time, you know, that relationship with time. Always allow more time. Easy to say, but you know, when you're blocking off, I have to do my banking every 2 weeks on a Sunday morning with a hot coffee and toast. All right. Allow 15 to 20 minutes more at the start side. All right, so at the beginning, not in the whole thing. Okay, I'm going to start at 10 o'clock and I'm going to go on. Well, if you're late, it's very helpful for work. It's very helpful for catching buses. It's very helpful for everything. Allow more time up front than you think you're going to need, okay? Because that was my favorite downfall, all right? I always seemed to be rushing somewhere, and it was just frantic. And someone said to me, you're not allowing the time it takes you to get out to your car. You're saying, I've got to be there for 10 o'clock. And the travel time, you know, Matt quested, the travel time is a half hour. All right. But it's a half hour from the time you're in your car. It's a half hour. Your bus ride to work is from the time you're at the bus station. All right. Or the time it takes to go through. So you drive somewhere and you've got to pay for parking. The time it takes you to get the car parked, pay for your parking, get to where you're going. All right. Allow 15 to 20 minutes up front. More if you know it's necessary, but just build that in. So when you're writing that in your agenda or you're making a date with that time, you actually are going to set your start time for 15 to 20 minutes. I have to be out that door by blah. All right. Okay. All right. Track tasks and commitments ahead of time. In your agenda. Where did I put my agenda? It's here somewhere. Where's my agenda? Okay. Trusty agenda. I'm just going to give you a flash in case it's somebody's name. All blocked off. All right. All blocked off. And do it proactively. Okay. Not the night before. And always check your list of what you need to do, the times, any changes, read it thoroughly right through to the end of the day, right? So that when you go to bed at night, you know what your next day is going to be like, all right? So that 15 minutes, when are you going to do that 15 minutes? So if sequencing or estimating time is difficult for you, and it's likely to be with adult ADD and ADHD, another way to help yourself is to make a list of the steps and post it somewhere, all right? Just handwritten list, little boxes, and then tick it off as you do it. Gives you a tremendous sense of achievement as well. You're giving yourself more credit. And remember, if your verbal memory is poor, all right? So if you heard it, your memory's not that, is not your strong suit. Listen carefully. As soon as someone starts to talk, shut the brain off, okay? Just shut it down. And now you're on attend. Practice it. Doesn't have to happen every time. And it will help your understanding. You can get people, you can repeat it to people as well, so long as you're not being annoying. So just that, listen carefully, check your understanding. So if I've understood you correctly, this is what you need me to do, or that's what happened. All right, language is imperfect as well. So what someone says, the connotation of what they're saying may be a little different from your understanding. It's not going to hurt you to double check it. And that'll help you to manage listening more carefully. Okay, and repeat it in your head, what you've heard. If you find it inappropriate or annoying to people, to check with them verbally by repeating the gist of the message, all right? Don't be annoying. Repeating it in your head is also a really good strategy. And then if it's necessary, even if you're a little bit uncomfortable, isn't it better to check with them? Did you say your name was Alice or Lise? Because people don't enunciate well. You ever notice how people always say something as though you already know it? And you're listening, and you're not sure exactly what they said. Get them to repeat it, all right? That way, both of you are coming away with the same understanding, okay? Procrastination, all right, is a common behavior among people with ADD and ADHD, both because of the difficulty with feeling overwhelmed. It's not just ADD and ADHD. If you add to that any level of hoarding behavior, you've got overwhelmed in capital letters, all right? And that sense of being overwhelmed leads to a desire to escape the task. It was overwhelming. I don't think I should start it. Or I just don't feel up to it. And then we get the hockey sticks out. We stick handle our logic into what fits with the feelings. Okay? Feelings are not facts. It's important to know it. It's important to respect them, but it's also important not to be limited by feelings. Our feelings are not facts. And then our next choice, our next temptation is to try to shift responsibility to others. All right. Change behaviors to distract. I was supposed to do this. All right. My plan requires me to do 15 minutes of this, but I'm going to do something else instead, and I'm going to call that equal. Work your plan. If you want to get to the other end, okay, and complete things, work your plan first. The other thing too, because adult ADD and adult ADHD quite often results in a higher degree of chaos. Watch out if you are tempted to develop the perception that everything becomes a drama, or you perceive those setbacks as a crisis. All right? The more you abandon your plan and get distracted or avoid it, the more chaos you're inviting into your life. Working a little bit of your plan, gives you something to be measurably proud of about. It was tough. I didn't want to do it, but I did it. All right? Before you start anything, when you've got ADD and ADHD, because I can guarantee you if you don't do this, you're going to be all over the map. That's just the way an ADD and ADHD brain tends to work. Okay, but distraction, right? And inattention. Before you start any task, gather the tools together. And I'm not talking necessarily about tools that you work with, like hammers and things. Whatever the task, there will be tools that are necessary. Gather those together before starting any job. Okay? Consider the time that it's going to take to put all of those tools, whatever they are, away. So if you're working on clerical work, or you're putting in submissions for reimbursement for counseling fees, all right? Or you're going to keep X number of months of bills records that you pay. Receipts, if you're in business, you've got to factor in that work time, the time it took to put those things away, because that is part of committing to finish the job. Keep those items for any task you're doing. Try your best to keep them within 3 to 4 steps away from where you most often do that task, because it's going to make the putting away so much easier. And in order, gauge also how much time and energy you have in the tank before you start the job. Don't promise 15 minutes to a job that takes 2 hours, and you know that, all right? You know that from the last time you tried to do it. Wishful thinking is not going to lead anywhere you want to be. Better to deal with reality and finish a 15-minute job than feel bad and dissatisfied because you've got an hour and 45 minutes to regret that you didn't finish. Don't end that effort with regret. Take breaks as you need them, all right? And give yourself personalized incentives, whatever that is, all right? Chunk activities rather than to be just all over the place. Chunk activities. If you're going to pay bills, you're going to pay bills. If you're going to open mail, you're going to open mail, all right? If you're going to clean the counters, you're going to clean the counters. Chunk activities into focusable, doable time periods. Eliminate all possible distractions. Turn the phone down. You can pick up a voicemail message. Close the door. Ask people to respect your distance. For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to be working on this. All right. And you know what? If the phone rings, you can pick it up later. You can be sure that if that's an urgent call, urgent enough to distract you, you can be sure that if you don't answer it, they're going to call back, they're going to call back, they're going to call back. All right? Everything that happens in our context and our environment is not as urgent as us getting the satisfaction of working our plan. All right? Use whatever helps you to focus. I've had people who said to me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to seem rude, but I have to doodle. It just seems to burn off that extra that's going to give me that bag of bees feeling in my head. And now I know I'm not looking at you. Okay, I know I'm not looking at you, but I am hearing you. All right? And you know what the test to that is, eh? The test is you can repeat what I said. The last thing I said. That's the test of whether you're actually able in that moment to be listening. There may be some other energizing tasks. Some people, certainly isn't me, okay, need music or something going in the background for them to really be able to focus. If that's what you need, okay, then that's what you need. Give yourself what you need for success. You deserve it. All right. We'll do a little synopsis here, and then we're going to answer the 6 questions. Use lists. Externalize posted lists. All right. Cue cards. If you need cue cards, you're going out to do tasks or errands outside. I always work from a list, all right, because I just find life is very active and it gets complicated. You can't control what's going to happen out there that's going to distract you. Post-it notes, but not all over the place, all right? Labels to cue yourself, but again, not randomly placed all over the place. Give yourself permission, where appropriate, to adapt your plan, but not on a whim. So before adapting your plan, this may sound a little cumbersome, but you can do it in your head, all right? Or you can write it out. Use a pros and cons list. If you're seriously thinking of adapting your plan and it looks more like abandonment than adaptation, all right? Because it's taking you in a different direction, at that moment, give yourself a break, okay? Use a pros and cons list, okay? And ask yourself this question. So if I adapt this plan that I'm working, all right, how is this going to move me closer? What is this going to do? Is this going to move me closer or further away from the end result that I want? All right. And what is it going to do to a guarantee that in a reasonable time, the time I need, I'm going to finish the current task? Or is this actually a distraction? It might be another important thing I need to do, but it's not part of what I'm working. It's just what's jumped in front of my face. Put it in its queue and keep working your plan. All right? Okay. So the effects of ADD and ADHD in childhood, If you look back, family stress and conflict, sometimes poor peer relationships, disruptive behavior that didn't get you accepted and encouraged, accidents, okay, interrupted self-care in adult and in adolescents and adults. Sometimes it means poor functioning at work, frequent job changes, risky personal behavior, distractions driving, so speeding tickets, accidents. If any of those are your past, they are not your destiny. Your past is not your destiny. Okay. If you can do nothing else, know whatever disorder or whatever challenges you have that you're experiencing. All right. Know those and really in as much detail as you can, and own them, accept them unapologetically. They do not determine you. You determine you. Okay? Okay, so let's go down to the questions and let's see. Some people have some questions here. All right. This is from Maureen. I'm so glad to be back. I intend to write a case example. We're all unique. Hope you're well. Thanks, Elaine, for hanging in with us. Oh, it's a pleasure to hang in with all of you. All right, Zoe, how do we submit a scenario to you? Send it by email, Zoe, all right, to elaine.birchall@hoarding.ca. From Jim to everyone. Yes, Zoe. Oh, thanks, Jim. You already answered it. Great. And to Silver, Elaine and everybody, I made it. Yay! Good. I take it you probably overcame some setbacks. That's good. I'm glad you persisted, Silver. Okay. And so someone says that I am so talking to them in this material. I'd be interested in hearing more about your 8-person workshop and maybe anything else that would help, okay? And so I'll give you a little bit about the workshop. It's actually I am going to be doing workshops where we take a topic and we don't kind of just cover the main points. We actually learn about it in far more detail, and people can ask questions and we can really chew down on it, all right, and come out of it being able, hopefully, to actually incorporate it. It's not just at an information level. Podcast, I'm trying to make it as practical as possible, but it's a lot of material, and then I'm trusting that you're going to take that and maybe do a little more research, know more about it so that you can action it. It all needs to be actionable, all right? So I don't know right now what the cost of the group or the workshops. Workshops will probably be, somewhere in a session and a half cost. That's what I'm guessing, but I certainly will. I'm going to try to keep it as affordable as I possibly can, but also respecting the work that it requires me to put into it, okay? The groups are going to be starting by the end of October. The first group, there's room for no more than 10 to 12 people, and I believe we already have 6 people who, as of last week and through this week, have heard about it, and I haven't posted it yet, all right? And yes, I do. Yes, my fees are covered. Somebody's asking. My fees are covered according to whatever the conditions of your policy are through an insurance company. Yes. I'm a mental health professional. I've got a master's degree, and I am regulated under the Ontario College of Social Work. So I'm legally responsible for the work I do as well. How long will the groups be? The groups are going to be somewhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours, because I want everyone to have probably 2 hours, because I want everyone to have had enough time to ask questions, exchange ideas or problems. We can problem solve actual situations, all right? Okay, we have 4 more questions, and all right, where are we here now? Sorry, people. Did I mention that I'm not that good with technology? How long will sections last? So the workshops are probably going to be somewhere in the half day, quarter day to half day range. All right. And again, I have to figure out what the costing of that will be. But I just wanted to give people an idea. Are there any other questions before we say goodbye for the week? So I think next week, I'm going to start looking at those scenarios, all right? Because we've done pretty well with the information. I got through all 32 strategies for helping to deal with adult ADD and ADHD. And so that's great. And next week, I'm going to start looking at these scenarios that have been submitted. And so is it possible to do, so Alina, are you talking about the timing of the group? The timing of the group isn't set yet. I'm thinking that I may actually do they're probably going to be, this is not definite, they're probably going to be timed on they're every second week, so everybody doesn't get overwhelmed. The alternate Monday that I don't travel to Mississauga to my practice up there. And I'm toying, if there's enough response, I'm toying with running 2 groups, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, okay, or even in the evening. What I'm looking at though is who registers and what time zone they're in. And then I'll send a request out for, would this time zone work? And we'll find a time for people to be in the group. All right, we'll work that out. All right, there's 3 more. Oh, Shoshana says to everyone, have a wonderful week. You too, Shoshana. Okay, Alina, I'm glad that works for you, that we're going to work out the timing. You take care, and I'm pleased. DFox, so grateful for all you do for us. Off to play. Off to play is a good thing. Okay, you take care. Have a great week, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Same time, same channel.
Thanks, Elaine.